Welcome back to the channel, you history hounds. Today, we're marching headfirst into the crucible of 16th century Europe. Picture it, a continent ablaze, a tangled web of alliances and betrayals, where gunpowder and steel were the ultimate deciders. We're talking about the 10 most effective killing machines of the era, the armies that didn't just win battles, they rewrote maps and dictated the destinies of nations. From disciplined infantry to innovative use of artillery, these armies shaped the course of European history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fascinating historical content. Let's get started. You might not think of the Pope as a military power, but underestimate the Papal States Army at your peril. This was no ragtag band of zealots. These guys were in the heart of the Italian wars, a viper's nest of intrigue and violence. And at their core, the Papal Swiss Guard. These weren't just fancy dress soldiers guarding a museum. We're talking about the descendants of Swiss mercenaries, renowned throughout Europe for their discipline and ferocity in battle. They were the Pope's insurance policy in a world where faith and power were constantly at odds. And when the chips were down, during the sack of Rome in 1527, they earned their pay. Imagine, Rome, the eternal city, overrun by the troops of Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor. The Pope himself, Clement VII, forced to flee for his life through secret passages. Holding the line against the onslaught, buying him precious time, the Swiss Guard. Coming in at number 9 are the Scots. Now picture this, a land of mist-shrouded glens and rugged mountains, a people forged in the fires of constant struggle. These were warriors who fought not for glory or gold, but for something far more profound, survival. They faced the relentless pressure of their English neighbors to the south, a clash of cultures, a battle for dominance. And their weapon of choice? The fearsome Scottish pike, wielded with terrifying effectiveness in the hands of skilled infantrymen. The Battle of Flodden in 1513, a clash that still echoes in Scottish memory, is a testament to their prowess. Thousands of Scotsmen formed up in their legendary Schiltron formations, a bristling hedgehog of pikes, advancing inexorably on the English lines. While the Scots ultimately tasted defeat that day, their courage and the effectiveness of their tactics left an indelible mark on military history. At number 8, we set sail with the Danish army. Now, when you think of Denmark, you might think of peaceful fjords and those delicious pastries. But don't let that fool you. These were the descendants of Vikings, and the sea was in their blood just as much as the land. Under King Christian II, they weren't content to be just another landlocked power. They forged a military machine that straddled the waves, projecting their power across the Baltic Sea. Think of the Swedish War of Liberation, a conflict that raged across Scandinavia. The Danes fighting on two fronts, on land with their disciplined infantry, and at sea with their powerful navy. Number 7, the Portuguese army, masters of the horizon. Coming in at number 7 are the Portuguese. And let me tell you, these guys were playing on a whole different map. While other European powers were still squabbling over scraps of land, the Portuguese were reaching out across the globe. They were pioneers, explorers, driven by a thirst for discovery and, let's be honest, riches. But you don't sail into uncharted waters. You don't carve out an empire in the face of fierce resistance without a military to back you up. And the Portuguese army? They were more than up to the task. Take the conquest of Goa, for example. In 1510, they seized this strategic port city on the Indian coast, a testament to their global reach and military efficiency. They were masters of combined arms operations, using their powerful navy to transport their soldiers and support their land campaigns. Number 6, the French army, chivalry and cannon fire. At number 6 we have the French. France. Land of romance, wine, and, oh yeah, some of the toughest soldiers Europe had ever seen. Under kings like Francis I, the French army was a force of nature. They were the inheritors of a long and glorious military tradition, steeped in the ideals of chivalry and battlefield prowess. But they were also quick to adapt to the changing face of warfare. The Battle of Marignano in 1515, it's a perfect example. Imagine, the thunder of hooves, the clash of steel as French heavy cavalry, the pride of their army, smashed into the enemy lines. But it wasn't just brute force. The French, they were masters of artillery, and the cannons roared, scything down enemy ranks. They were a force that could overwhelm you with sheer numbers and knightly valor, but they could also outmaneuver and bombard you into submission. Number 5, the Spanish Army, the Tercio Terror. Coming in at number 5 are the Spanish. The 16th century was the Spanish century, no doubt about it. They were sitting on top of the world, a global empire fueled by New World silver and enforced by what many consider the most formidable military force of the age. And at the heart of their success was a revolution in military thinking, the Spanish Tercio. This wasn't just your grandfather's army, no sir. The Tercio was a combined arms formation, a deadly cocktail of pikemen, swordsmen, and the most important ingredient, gunpowder. These guys would march onto the battlefield in their tight formations, an impenetrable wall of steel, and unleash a hailstorm of lead that could shatter enemy formations. The Battle of Pavia in 1525, that was their coming out party. At number 4 we have the English. Now when you're talking about the English army, you gotta talk about the longbow. This iconic weapon had won them glory on battlefields for centuries, raining down death from afar. But the English, they weren't ones to rest on their laurels. They saw the way the winds of war were blowing and they embraced gunpowder with a vengeance. They combined their traditional skills with these new technologies, creating an army that was both adaptable and deadly. Look no further than the Battle of Flodden in 1513. The English longbowmen were there, decimating the Scottish ranks, but they were joined by artillery and handheld firearms. The English were masters of adapting to the terrain, using their firepower to devastating effect. Coming in at number 3 are the Polish-Lithuanian army. Now we're talking about a vast multi-ethnic empire that stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. And holding that vast realm together was an army as diverse and deadly as the lands it defended. But if there's one image that defines the Polish-Lithuanian army, it's the winged hussars. Picture this. Thousands of heavily armored horsemen, their lances tipped with steel, their backs adorned with those iconic feathered wings, charging across the battlefield. They were a force of nature, a thundering wave of horseflesh and steel that could break enemy lines with terrifying speed and power. The Battle of Orsha in 1514, it's a perfect example. The Polish-Lithuanian army, outnumbered by their Muscovite foes, unleashed the winged hussars, and the result was a massacre. At number 2, we have the army that kept all of Europe on edge, the Ottomans. Under Suleiman the Magnificent, they weren't just an army, they were a juggernaut, a vast multicultural force that seemed unstoppable. From the Balkans to the Middle East, their banners flew, their armies marched, pushing the boundaries of their empire ever outward. The Ottomans, they were masters of both land and sea power. Their elite janissaries, armed with the latest gunpowder weapons, were some of the most feared soldiers in the world. They were disciplined, fanatically loyal, and utterly ruthless in battle. And when it came to siege warfare, well, the Ottomans wrote the book. Just look at the Siege of Vienna in 1529. And finally at number 1 we have the army that stood as the bulwark against the Ottoman tide. The army of the Holy Roman Empire. Now the Holy Roman Empire, it wasn't your typical empire, it wasn't a centralized monolithic state like the Ottomans. It was a patchwork quilt, a hodgepodge of duchies, principalities, bishoprics, all loosely bound together under the authority of the Holy Roman Emperor. And their army reflected that diversity. It was a tapestry of different fighting styles, languages, and allegiances. But what unified them, what made them such a force to be reckoned with, was the simple fact that they were fighting for their survival. They faced threats from all sides, the Ottomans to the east, ambitious princes within their own ranks, and religious strife tearing at the very fabric of their society. And out of that crucible, they forged an army that was adaptable, resilient, and utterly ruthless. Their landsknechts, mercenary soldiers who lived and breathed warfare, were some of the most feared and respected troops in Europe. The Battle of Pavia in 1525, where they faced and defeated the French, is a testament to their skill and discipline. So there you have it, folks. The 10 most effective armies of 16th century Europe. These were the armies that didn't just win battles, they shaped the destiny of nations. They were led by kings and emperors, fueled by ambition, fear, and the relentless march of progress. If you enjoyed this journey through military history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Follow us on social media for more historical content and updates. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring history.